All right. Good evening. It is City Council time. It is March 10th of 2026. And the first item would be the roll call.
Okay, Wozniak Scanlon.
Here.
Sherlucky.
Here.
Hirsch.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Tillison.
Caffeinated.
Reeves.
Here.
Butler.
Here.
Schumacher.
Decaffeinated.
Viano.
Here.
Abel.
Here.
Okay.
Thank you. Nino.
Here.
Caravello.
Here.
Okay, we have 12 alders present.
All right, thank you. And we are certified of compliance with open meeting laws. Nobody is signed up for public comment. Nobody is here. Nobody gets to speak tonight. Communications and presentations. First is historical fact. I'll pull that up.
This one you can just kind of roll through.
Okay.
As you're going. All right, in my continued series of looking at what the ads of Stoughton had, so these were all in the phone directories in there. So one thing of note to change is, so last version I had was I think 1917, and those were done by, and the previous one were done by private companies. So this is the first time that we've seen where Ma Bell actually took over on this one. And from here on out, I think they print all of the phone directories. But again, these are pulled from.
I like his telephone number, 1, 2, 3.
There's a telephone number 1 in here. I can't remember which one it is, and telephone number 2. I can't remember which one that one is on here though. Fuel or A.E. Skinner's Fuel of All Kinds is telephone number 2.
I like the name of it. Eat More Restaurant. That's a great name, isn't it? Sounds like an all-you-can-eat buffet, doesn't
Right.
it? Oh, really?
So of the changes that happened, so I'm doing comparison and contrasts from the previous set of these that I had. So what has changed since the 1917 one was the automobile has 1 in this directory. In 1915 there was 1 ad featuring vulcanized tires, and by 1930 10 businesses were serving the car, and the horse is completely gone out of the picture. No more of them.
What is a frock?
The coat, yeah.
Like a cloak.
Yeah,
Oh.
I always thought it was like a moo-moo,
like those, yeah.
but
The directory also shows the arrival of national brand chains, Firestone, Harrison Radiators, High Duty Oil, Johnsonite Gasoline, and other branded products. Said we still have the Scandinavian surnames dominating still in here. Amundsen, Bjorn, Brixen, Furseth, Björksen, Halverson, Hedmark, Mellum. And a lot of them were, I'm having it track the, like when we had previously the Somebody and Sons in there, and it's tracking when that switched over from the elder to the younger. Oh, there it is. I knew I pulled this out of here. The telephone numbers, it was Björksen Brothers had telephone number 1 and Skinner had number 2. And the first instances of the suffixes in there which indicated the party lines.
I want that candy shop back.
Oh, and that the party lines, they shared circuits with different, and there were differing ring patterns, and that's how they knew when to which one was to pick up the phone, so.
And which one you can listen in?
Right, get the information.
I'm picturing Green Acres.
Yes,
No.
oh my God, yeah.
They climb the pole and they have the switchboard and.
Yep, yep. This one, or this phone book was printed 3 months after Black Tuesday, so, after the stock market crash. And so that's why it said the Citizens National Bank had come up advertising specifically that they had $50,000 in capital and 10,000 surplus. So that was, taking advantage of that bad situation, or at least giving them an advertising edge, I would say. That is that for those, and I will continue on. We'll be in the 1950s in the next one.
Cool.
Okay. All right, next I'll pull up, I'm going to do an update on kind of where Stoughton is on population. It's just going to take me a second to get this thing.
Just a quick comment.
Sure, go ahead.
I just wanted to say hello to my brother. He's watching from home in the mountains of Oregon. And so first time he's watched, so I hope you all good, Mike. Say hi.
Try it again.
Go ahead, Greg, say it again.
I just wanted to wish my brother good luck. He's got something going on for him tomorrow. And wanted to just say hi.
Hi, brother.
All right, so I'm going to go through some slides quick. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me. This is something I've been doing, I don't know, the last several years. Usually I do it after the election, but since nobody's running unopposed and we had a light agenda, I figured I'd just go through it tonight. So it's kind of summarizes kind of where we're at population-wise. Right now in Dane County, at the end of 2024, we're at 582,936, which is way ahead of what projections were established just a few years ago. Dane County had done some projections, and you know, we continue to grow at a faster pace than anticipated. This one here is fairly complicated, but it's in your packet. You can take a deeper dive into it. But basically, this is one that was put together by CARPC, which is the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission. And what they did is they went beyond looking at things like birth rates and employment and try to dig a little deeper and more accurately. And their numbers reflect higher anticipated growth here in Dane County than the county itself did. So, you know, as we look at this stuff, housing, transportation, childcare, you know, all sorts of infrastructure issues kind of come to mind as far as how we're going to accommodate this growth moving forward as a county. So I know this is something that county supervisors are looking at, and then of course we do locally and working with the DOT on at least our highway project to put in whatever safety improvements and things so that we can keep traffic moving and alternative ways to move traffic. This one here is also from CARPC projecting out, and you can find this is the first ring. So what they do is the first ring is basically around the Madison area, and then there's we would be in the second ring basically, or what they're calling the outline. So you can see we were at the census like 12,354, and even though we've put up a lot of homes and even some multifamily, so far it hasn't really registered, at least with the census, on increased population. And we believe that a lot of that has to do with families just aren't having children as early in life as they did just a few years ago. But you can see as we get further in a few years from now, when these families get established, that at least CARPC is projecting that the population in Stoughton will begin to increase. And I think, you know, I'd like to think that the council's done a really nice job preparing for it, and staff as well, putting in not only safety improvements on our roads, but our parks, our trail systems, and the amenities that people are going to want to enjoy once they're here. You might recall there was a 12-month strategic plan with Dane County that I participated in. Chris and I were both on a committee. A lot of the ordinances that you passed on zoning codes are a direct result of this, and there's also a planning guide that they sent out that we're reviewing to see whether or not there's additional opportunities for more density, using some of the guidelines that Dane County collected from all the municipalities in the area. This one here shows housing starts. It only goes up to 2024, but you can see part of the challenge is on single-family homes and duplexes. If you go way back to 2000, we were building at a pretty good clip there. Some years over 2,000 units a year, and right now we're barely doing half of that, 1,000. But yet our population continues to grow. So my assumption would be is a lot of that additional population is either being underserved or they're in multifamily, because they're certainly not in single-family home and duplexes because we're not building them fast enough. So that's definitely a point of emphasis, for owner-occupied. But we've done a pretty good job, and we'll go through it a little bit, some examples of having a nice mix of price points. This is our history of our population. It really didn't change much from last year to now. The stars indicate estimates, and then it gets trued up every 10 years during the census. And you can kind of see we've been hovering right around 13,000 since basically the year 2020 and beforehand. And then our net new construction is also on here as well. And obviously we talk about that at budget time and the growth that we need in order to be able to continue to employ our people and hire new people to accommodate the growth. And you can see we've had some pretty good years here the last few years on our net new construction. This one here is kind of a breakdown. I don't have 2025 in here. We're slightly, I think we did a few more last year than we did the year before, but you can see, the last couple of years we've had over 50 single-family homes, which is something we had never done all the way back to the year 2000. We're starting to see more multifamily. We're going to see that this year between the project out at STI and out at 51 West and on the riverfront. But having a nice mix and different price points, I think, will make Stoughton really attractive here in Dane County. And then we also kind of have a breakdown of our percentages here so we can kind of monitor how many are single family. I kind of count duplexes as single family now, at least the owner occupied ones with the 0 lot lines. So those numbers could be combined in theory. But you can see what's happening is we're starting to get an uptick in multifamily percentage-wise, and that's not unique to Stoughton. There's other communities in Dane County that are, running 40% single family, 60% multifamily. We're still running between 60 and 65 to 35 to 40. Levy limits, of course, we talk about at budget time, the importance of the net new construction to balance our budget. That's the only way we can raise our taxes is without going to referendum, is through the additional revenue that's created through that formula. And then this is the new positions that we had put in there, as well as the SRO is not on here, the share cost of that, but this is where, some of that money went that we were able to generate through the net new construction. This is school district information, so you can see this only goes back to 2015. If you were to go back all the way to the year like 2000, I think the membership for the school district was like over 3,600. There was like 300 kids per class. Anybody graduate from Stoughton? What was your class size? Yeah. Anybody else? At one point, I think there was about 300 students per grade, and now we're down, in 200, 250 some years. But you can kind of see it's starting to flatten off a little bit here the last few years. And I think that's a direct result of some of the decisions that have been made here on some of these projects. This here is some data that the school district puts together. They work with the UW population lab, and they have different models that they use. They use a birth rate, they use like a baseline, they use incoming kindergartner versus outgoing graduation seniors, and then they come up with projections. So if you look at 25, 26, you can see they were projecting, 2,600 or less students, and we're, oh shoot, just logged out of it. But we're actually above that. Let me get back to it. So yeah, they're projecting about 2,600 students, and if we were to go back, you can see we're at like 2,750. So even though our enrollment has gone down, it hasn't gone down at the pace that at least UW Population Lab anticipated. So yeah, we're at 2,719. So we're over 100 kids more than they anticipated for this year, which is good news. And it's important for the school district because that's part of their funding formula, as well as their equalized value, which is similar to us. And part of the issue, when we talk about the school district and we talk about property taxes and we talk about mill rates, is you can see that the state aid for the school districts is kind of all over the board, but it's basically down significantly from 10 years ago. And then if you look at the per pupil history, so the school district gets money from the state for each student. It's been flat for 5-6 years now. So that's one of the contributing factors to the reason that the school district has to go to referendum is a lot of the overhead is fixed. You have a building, you have principals, you have custodials, you have to have a certain amount of staff just to open a building. So those are fixed costs. And if you're not getting additional revenue, it really puts you in a difficult situation to balance your budget. So that's why we've seen record numbers of school districts going to referendum. And we get feedback on the property taxes. What I've been lobbying for at the state level is a few things. Number one is let's not rely solely on property taxes for municipalities and school districts. Let's come up with alternative funding sources, and they're out there. They could be alcohol tax, it could be sports betting, it could be legalizing marijuana, it could be any number of things, cigarette tax. What's happening is the state residents are really paying the price, and a lot of our money are going to other states, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, where things are legal or their taxes are higher, where people go there and get their goods and not here. And I think there's opportunity there revenue-wise, plus the state still is sitting on, $2-3 billion surplus that could be distributed and helped at least short-term. It's probably not a long-term answer. And then there's a lot of properties that are tax exempt that my feeling is members of the state legislators should take on the lobbyists and make them pay their fair share of their taxes because we're providing services for them and they're not, paying their fair share in order to, help everybody else and themselves. So I think there's opportunity there, and what's happening, and this is my salt box, is at the state level, they're too busy pointing fingers and placing blame and not looking for solutions to the problems. I'm hoping that'll change. We continue to push for that. So that's my salt box for the night. So as far as our developments, obviously STI, the Continental project is underway. They're making good progress. The yellow are the single family homes. They're beginning to sell some of those lots as well. And then I know the Park and Rec Committee is working on the master plan for the park. And as this project develops, I think that's going to be a big attraction for our community. This is one of the examples of what the park could look like. And then there's another one. I don't think there's been a final decision from the committee, has there?
Definitely not this one.
No? So, they're still looking at options and layouts, and they gather their feedback, and we'll see where it goes. But bottom line with the STI park is based on our impact fees. We collect the impact fees when we pull a building permit. And based on the amount of density, we can anticipate about $1 million worth of impact fees. It's probably not going to get us very far as the amenities. If you look at the shelter down at Mant Park we just put up, that was $400,000. So if we put a big shelter at the STI Community Park, that's going to gobble up most of the money. So anything else we want to do there, we're going to have to figure out a way to come up with some additional resources, whether it's basketball or pickleball or, playground or whatever we want to do there. So that's going to be a big challenge, but I know the Park and Rec Committee will be up to it. Some businesses, the vet clinic is rebuilding out by Church's Chicken out there by the apartments. So they're making good progress out there. The other building is for sale. Viking Day Camp is moving into where Quick Trip was on Roby Road. Out at Kettle Park West, we're still working on the last about 20 lots here, these kind of southern lots near the park. So they're trying to sell them to either one or two builders right now. So we'll see how that comes along. But we're also working on coming into an agreement exactly where that road will end. So we'll probably be seeing them at some point. I think Chris has been meeting with them. This is kind of what they've been building out there. These D.R. Horton houses are moving pretty quickly. Some of them they've been selling to owner occupied. Some of them they're selling to investors and they're renting. And then they still have a bunch more to build, but they continue to come in periodically and pull permits. And then this is still approved. These are the apartments behind the hotel. And we're kind of waiting to see what their next move is. And we've got some ideas, but there's some decisions that need to be made before we can move forward on any of this stuff. So we're just kind of waiting and seeing. This is the picture of kind of where the car wash is. So that's been open for a while now. And then this one here is the Anytime Fitness is open now. And then there's 3 other commercial spaces in here, including one with the drive-through. So they only have 1 commercial lot left for sale out at Kettle Park West, which is actually pretty good. They have a couple other ones that they have some empty spaces they're looking to fill now. And you might have noticed that La Cantina moved and rebranded, so they're in where the Pancake Cafe was in that corner slot, so they're out there now. And then it looks like we at least have some movement at the former BBG site. They're going to be at the Plan Commission next month with a proposal, so we'll see how that goes. And then the old La Cantina building, I don't know if there's been any activity there yet or not. I haven't heard anything. We're at 51 West. This is mostly built out. We're still working at the Plan Commission on this little 2-acre lot here, running into a few hiccups there. Hopefully we can work through that. The bigger lot, JT Klein is still planning on moving forward with the senior apartment units. I think there's like 110 of them. So we should be able to see that sometime this year. They're waiting for their tax credit to be approved. But it seems like they're...
Is that going to be affordable housing?
Yeah, it'll be senior housing, Section 42, so it'll be income based on the median household income. I don't know.
Senior housing is not assisted living.
Oh, is that what, I'm sorry, it's not assisted living, it's affordable housing, you're right. So that'll be income-based housing. So we'll see how that goes, but it seems like they're full steam ahead. And then I haven't really heard anything as far as the commercial property here in red. That's mostly all that's left. And part of that is, to coordinate that with the roundabout that's going in there as well. So that'll be, probably more heavily marketed here as we get further into the year, and hopefully they'll come up with some shops that people will enjoy. Magnolia Springs, we're on phase 2. I haven't been down there for a while. How's that coming along, Lisa?
too, yeah, so they're moving along.
Moving along. So that's a combination of single-family homes and duplexes. So you can see we have a pretty good variety. Not all communities can say that. Greenspire, you might recall, we did a big project there. We remodeled all the units. I think 87 of them were subsidized, Section 8s, vouchers, which are really hard to come by these days. So being able to retain that was huge. And then we had $5.8 million worth of Inflation Reduction Act money for the solar panels and permaculture and all the sustainability features, the heat pumps. And we've been highlighted and honored and featured at quite a few events here in the last 6 months. So that was a really good project for not only Stoughton, but for the residents that live there. And of course, the riverfront redevelopment continues to move forward. RDA is, has been working with Alexander. They have a plan, and they're applied for their WIDA tax credit as well. And what I understand is they have an emphasis on workforce housing for veterans as part of this project. So what are you thinking, Regina, this fall maybe?
Yeah, I think, and Katrina, I think, is online too. I think Alexander initially had a wait on their, or WIDA had more than anticipated applications, and so theirs got postponed, but I think they just got word that it was accepted. So with all the public improvements that we just had a meeting on and everything, I don't think they could actually start until this fall,
Okay.
until we start remediating all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and basically the design and the site plan is pretty much approved, so they should be good to go. Man Park improvements are just about completed. They're finishing up on the shelter right now with the 4 bathrooms kind of up in this northwest area. Parking lots are all complete. Landscaping along the trail, ramps and steps and nodes going down to the river are done on this side of the river. We had a meeting with the DR a couple weeks ago for the 2 downstream features, including the small dam feature and the deflector. Seems like that meeting went pretty well. It was here. People spoke on both sides. DNR said it was basically, approved, but there's like a 120-day period that we have to wait out, which we'll probably coordinate with about the time Alexander's ready anyway, and we do all the soil remediation for the riverbank and the river itself at the same time. So I think it's going to time out okay for us. So that's pretty exciting. There's the shelter. $400,000 doesn't get you much. This is kind of what some illustrations of what it would look like once the lower features are done, as far as kayaking underneath the bridge, and then pedestrian and bicycling under the bridge to get to the other side of 4th Street. And then this is some examples of what they put in, the steps and the ramps that get river access, which I think is pretty cool. So you could picnic, you could fish, you could just hang out. And then there'll be some plantings that'll be put in there as well. Here's another angle. You can see the powerhouse in the back. We're also, interested to get this work done so we can get the head race and tail race filled in, because we do have somebody interested in repurposing the powerhouse, so we'll be talking about that at some point. Depot Hill. So this is the Schmidt project. So the former depot building where the Chamber and Historical Society is open. It's staffed right now. Kara's down there. And then my understanding is they're under contract on 3 other properties. So I'm interested to see, what those properties look like when they close. But there are properties, 2 of them that went on the market, I informed them right away so they could get on it, and they did. And then the 3rd one is one they've been negotiating with for a while, so we're hoping that they'll close on that one as well. On the east side, where the billboards are, they're going to be building a new car wash there, and it'll be more like a automatic with self-serve bays and vacuums. And then this is kind of the quick view of the highway corridor project. We'll be getting more up-to-date dates here soon. We'll be getting meetings with the DNR going, or the DOT. And then they're planning on starting and finishing the wall down on the east side beginning the 23rd of the month. And it'll be several weeks before they'll have to close the road, do the work, and reopen it. But you'll be hearing more about that. I think I sent out some emails yesterday, so hopefully that was helpful for you. Stoughton Health finished their project, so they're in pretty good shape, to serve the community for a long time. When we talk about infrastructure, we're not just talking about roads and parks. We're talking about, businesses and healthcare and daycare and everything else. So it was really important that they were able to do this project, and they're one of our largest employers. Another new business, Euro Market, is open. Gives us a little bit more diversity and grocery shopping experience. Anybody been there? How is it?
It's good. It's not very big, but they have a nice selection of things that you're not going to find at Pick and Save. So it's a fun place to stop in.
Excellent. So, and then there's a couple other conversations we've had in the past that we haven't heard from for a while that I'll just show. This would be a potential Nordic Ridge expansion and then potential Stonecrest expansion, but we haven't had any conversation for, I don't know, months, if not almost a year on some of this stuff. So we don't know if this will resurface this year or not. You just never know. All of a sudden you'll get an email and somebody will want to set up a meeting. So when they do, we'll be ready. Still working on the comp plan. So a lot of the decisions going forward will be driven with the information that Becker Professional Services gathered for the comp plan. So we'll be anxious to get that done and go through it and review the goals and objectives for that. That's all I had. Any questions about anything? So, I mean, this is something that you can have, it's in the packet. So if people are asking you questions, at least you have something to reference. And then I'll try to, update you periodically if there's any major changes on any of this stuff. Okay, let's get to the agenda. We have one other presentation, and that'll be coming from the clerk. She's going to give us an update on the election.
Thank you. Just real quick, I was going to give you a few numbers from the February primary. If you didn't hear already, there was a light turnout for that one. We started that election with 9,176 registered voters. Turnout that day was 1,116 voters. Of that, 481 were returned absentee ballots. So overall, we had a turnout of approximately 12%, February 17th. So moving forward, we're prepping for the spring election. We mailed 804 absentee ballots today, and we'll continue mailing ballots daily as the requests are received. This is 1 week earlier than the statutory deadline. If you didn't hear in the news last week, Dane County is contracted with a new printer. So that's allowing for a more efficient process for printing ballots and delivery of those. So we currently have 113 residents with applications on file who will be voting with the special voting deputies on March 16th and 17th. And the first day to vote in-person absentee will be Tuesday, March 24th. And the last day will be Friday, April 3rd at 5 p.m. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or if you're just anxiously waiting for the election to arrive.
Any questions? So my understanding is everyone that's elected to this body is running unopposed. And then for the school
Correct.
district, there's 2 candidates for 3 positions. And then there's a judge race, and I don't know what else. There's probably a few others.
I did receive a message the other day that there is a registered write-in candidate for the school board.
Oh, okay.
So that hasn't been finalized yet, but I did get the update from the school district.
All right. Any questions for Candy? right, hearing none, we'll go into the consent agenda. Would somebody like to make a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion. Tillison.
Is there a second?
Second. Oh,
Who was it? Wozniak Scanlon? Okay, any discussion or anything acted on separately on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Old business ordinance 3 of 2026, a second reading from the Plan Commission. Alderperson Caravello.
Thank you. This is ordinance 3 of 2026, ordinance by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton amending sections 14-481 sidewalk cafes, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Schumacher. Alderperson Caravello.
And this is amending, previously, it was required that businesses remove all their equipment from the sidewalk or right-of-way, and this amends that, so businesses do not have to remove those things, so long as they are not impeding the right-of-way when they are stored or overnight.
That's
Okay.
that.
Any questions or comments on that one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next ordinance 4 comes from the Finance Committee.
This is ordinance 4 of 2026, ordinance by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton, amending section 66-1407 and 78-919 of the Stoughton Code of Ordinances, delegating authority to the mayor to execute certain cost reimbursement agreements, and I so move.
And is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tillison. Alderperson Butler.
Stretching my memory to all the way to 3 weeks ago or so. This is to streamline, as it says in the title, it's to streamline certain processes to allow the mayor to execute reimbursement agreements under, is it $5,000, I believe?
Yep. Questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? And any opposed? That motion carries. Next one is new business, and this one also came from Finance.
This is Resolution 27 of 2026 to amend the 2026 adopted budget funds 208, 400, and 410 capital outlay carry forwards, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Reeves. Alderperson Butler.
And this is ongoing carryover. You can see that it decreases expenditures by about $427,000. I defer to Director Trebatowski.
Behind the resolution is the details of the projects that are being reduced. Some are increasing with that net effect of $427,000. Are there any questions on the projects? But you, during budget time, approved a carry forward amount. This is reducing it due to more expenses happening in 2025 than anticipated, or some that didn't, and then we need to increase. So it's just changing that carry forward amount.
Questions or comments?
No, it's great to see that it's decreased as opposed to increased.
Yeah, it's always nice.
So,
Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. R28 is also a Finance.
Resolution R28 of 2026, a resolution amending the 2026 operating budget and authorizing tree removal within the Academy Street stormwater swale, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Wozniak Scanlon. Alderperson Butler.
And this is to remove some trees that had grown up in the swale there and to do some additional work around where the trees would have been. And is Brett online?
Yep,
to
he's
give
on
a
there.
little bit more detail?
Yep.
Yep, no, you did a nice job. So there's a stormwater swale on Academy Street along the railroad tracks, kind of by the viaduct. And we have some large trees that have grown up within the swale. So we're going to be look to remove those trees, reestablish the swale to promote that positive drainage to basically we have a culvert under the railroad tracks. So we did have some minor flooding in the backyards of that area. So this is going to help to mitigate any potential issues we have moving forward. We'll also work with the property owner to replant trees that are appropriate for that area outside of the swale. So we will be working with them on that as well.
All right. Any questions for Director Hebert? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
any opposed? Motion carries. R29, Mant Parkway from Plan Commission, Alderperson Carabello.
Sorry. This is not a first reading. This is an introduction. And this is R29 of 2026, authorizing discontinuance of a public way of a segment of Mant Parkway. And also on the agenda, it says something about sending Mant Parkway on a vacation, which I'm jealous that Mant Parkway gets to go on a vacation when we all get to stay here. But anyhow, due to and this has already been realigned, and I'm actually going to hand it over to Chris, but due to the realigning, we had to basically discontinue this, even though it probably would have been, I was thinking last night after planning, seems like it maybe could have been an easier way to do this and just call it a realignment, but then I know that there's technical and legal things and the CSM and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement, but we're going to call this a learning experience. So essentially, during the approval of the Mant Park, there was a realignment of the roadway, which means we have to discontinue a segment of that. And so this is the first step in that. So basically, it's announced, it has to go through 3 notices, and at the end of the 3rd notice, that's when you guys will take action. The roadway that's being realigned will be back here, first to Plan Commission through a CSM process. As I was explaining, the bus barn is technically not city property, and for it to be a legal conforming lot, has to have road right-of-way going to it, and I think it's 100 feet of road right-of-way, if I'm remembering correctly. So again, this is just the first step in this process.
Okay. So we're not going to see it 3 times though, right? Or will we?
It's, so you guys basically are like, here, this is the introduction, here it is. It goes through 3 notices in the paper, and then at the end of that 3rd notice, that's when you guys will take action. So I believe, and it's spelled out in here, but I think you guys will see it in like a month, ish. Depending on how it lines up.
Basically, we have to have a public hearing after 40 days of the introduction of this. So after 40 days from now, we will hold a public hearing, and then the council can finally take action on whether or not it wants to discontinue the road. But it won't be back 3 times between now and then. It'll just be one other time that it'll come back.
Okay.
April 14th is when you guys will.
All right. Any questions or comments on this one? Otherwise, we'll see this back in April. And then that'll take us to the next one, which is a first reading. Item number 11, which is parking prohibited at all time. I'm not sure where this one came from. Public safety, that would be Christina.
And Greg Jensen's going to present tonight.
Thank you. This is ordinance, first reading, ordinance 5, 2026, to amend section 70-176, parking prohibited at all times. And the Public Safety Committee met on February 12th, or 18th, excuse me, and voted to recommend approval and a 5-0 vote. This is basically from, as you can read in the ordinance, from the east side of South 4th Street between Milwaukee Street and Orchard Avenue. So, and a first reading.
Okay. Go
Can I
ahead.
just request that for the second reading, that we have a map of
Sure.
where this is?
Yeah, it's
How's
down
that?
on 4th Street by Magnolia Springs, but yeah, I agree, a map would be helpful.
Right, because it's not, for me,
Right.
it's for the
With the-
public.
With the reconstruction, it bottlenecked there because they widened it out and then the road narrowed. So on that curve, it's bottlenecked a bit, and if you had people parking along there, it would cause issues with the snowplows, trucks, whatever, yeah, so it's gonna be a problem.
I totally agree. I just think that it'd be
Yeah.
nice to have a visual for
I
people
agree.
to understand why.
Yep, I agree.
All right. Any other questions or comments on that one? That's all we had for tonight, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Jensen, is there a second?
Second?
Second by Caravello. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed?
Aye.
We are adjourned.